getting right into it, having a look at everyone's favorites for the Women's World Cup. So the first thing I wanted to point out was America's deep build-up and the varying amounts of pressure that Vietnam put them under. Here in America's midfield build-up, they've got Fox, the right back, high up, roaming far side. Dunn, the other fullback, will tuck inside and become essentially the second CDM, and then you have all of your forwards narrow. And part of the reason that Vietnam looks so open is because they do a lot of man marking, and so the USA players' movements create this space centrally. Fortunately, Vietnam are able to block both attempts by Fox to slip in one of her teammates, and then we actually end up with Dunn as well, looking to try and overlap Horan here, but Vietnam are able to defend it and they counter-attack, which was essentially their only means of attack. Despite committing a few numbers in this right hand side channel, eventually America able to win back possession, and then we get to see that deep build up where America built up in this 4-1 shape. This is actually Sullivan who dropped to right back, but she sits just ahead of the defense with DeMello and Horan as the two number 8s between the lines. But despite Vietnam just attacking in this right hand side channel, they're immediately dropping off, and this was the pattern generally, unless they saw something particularly opportunistic where they could press. Okay, so I wanted to compare that Vietnam press with this one, where as per usual, the goalkeeper here, Tran, who had a good game, plays it long. America able to get in possession, and here in the second half, but also part of the end of the first half, Vietnam stepped up their press. So we can see that here with Hoon leading the press, but actually being backed up here, so that eventually Vietnam actually win the ball here in this left hand side, eventually leading to them creating a crossing opportunity, which is defended, but Vietnam show that they could, if they committed the players, press America. Okay, so moving on to America's midfield shape. We've got Vietnam pressing again, but this time late in that first half. Unfortunately, despite the pressure, America are able to escape. And we get to see what initially starts as a 2-3 midfield with the two number 8s and a narrow front three. As America play to one side, then the far-sided fullback will narrow into more of a CDM position, helping Sullivan, whilst the other fullback has the license to be able to both underlap or overlap depending on the near-sided wide midfielder's position. All the while, the rest of the forwards for America will float to try and disjoint the Vietnam midfield and defense who are looking to try and man mark. With all of that flexibility, you get to see that space open up centrally that America can exploit, as we saw in that previous example, allowing them to be able to play through the lines either into midfielders or even into Morgan. So we get to see some of that here with eventually Fox coming back inside and then Dunn now holding a bit more of that width on that left hand side, but again the forwards all narrow and Vietnamese players looking to try and man mark. America stay patient, but eventually they find that pass into Morgan, allowing her to be able to lay it off into a supporting player. Again, you've got those forwards narrow looking to attack the space in behind. Fortunately for Vietnam, they're able to counter-attack. Unfortunately for Vietnam, they often face quite a stern US counter-press, which stopped them by hook or by crook. Okay, moving on to Vietnam's deep build-up. As we showed with the other example, Tran in goal was very happy to kick the ball long, looking to avoid that America press. Unfortunately, they didn't have the aerial prowess to be able to win those long balls, so America often easily won back possession. So part of the reason I wanted to show this example was because it included that goal kick, included the counter-attack versus America's counter-press, and then also the foul to stop the counter-attack. But then we get to see Vietnam try and build up in what was meant to be like a 3-4-3 or a 3-5-2. Basically, the wingbacks end up holding the width initially until Vietnam pick a side. So once they pick a side, then that wingback will hold the width on that side, and then all of your forwards narrow and they kind of float in the central spaces, and then the other fullback, the far-sided wingback, will tuck inside. Unfortunately on this occasion, as with any occasion that Vietnam tried to play in their own defensive third, America just were having none of it, and they immediately ramped up the pressure, and Vietnam are forced to concede more and more space despite them being the ones in possession, eventually leading to them being deep in this left-hand side and having to play more intricate football here. But unfortunately, they're not able to pull off a neat 1-2 and America win back possession. Moving on to America's corner kicks. Of course, you get the typical thing where one player on the attacking team is basically positioned to harass the goalkeeper. Here we've got Alex Morgan, but later Lavelle does this role. And then you've also got a defender looking to try and stop that. But I do just have to say that Tran, the goalkeeper, did exceptionally well. She was never really fazed by it, punched and flapped everything, and yeah, it was just great. Otherwise, focusing on the American players, often positioning towards the back post and then having just runners. Typically they drove the ball in towards the center of the box, again looking to try and force the Vietnam goalkeeper into making a decision. Definitely some food for thought here for other teams looking to go up against America. If you've enjoyed this video, consider giving it a like, sharing it on social media, maybe subscribing. It goes a really long way, and let me know who you think is the favorite for the tournament. And with that, we're out.